Can you guys hear me okay? If you could let me know in the comments if you can hear me, that would be great. And we'll get started in just a few minutes. Can you hear me? Here. Sound. Yay. Okay. It's always my worst nightmare. Okay, good. Yes. Thank you. Okay. My nervous system just relaxed a little bit. All right, we'll get started. And for everyone, there's a chat box. Hopefully you should be able to see the chat box over to your right. Feel free to use that. I will take some questions. Hello, everyone. Thanks for hopping on. We'll get started in just a few minutes. I do like to start right on time. Probably, if you do have questions, save that towards the end. I'll have a few minutes near the end to answer questions. But if you put those questions in the chat box, depending, we have 131 people registered for the webinar. I don't think all of those people will be on live. However, if there is a whole bunch of comments start running in the chat box, I might miss your questions. So if you do have questions, save that towards the end, write it down on a piece of paper so you don't forget, and then type it in near the end of the broadcast, maybe the last 15 minutes or so. Hi, Priscilla. Hi, Stacy. Hi, Holly. Hi, Jamie. All right, people are hopping on right now. Hello, TJ. Thanks for tuning in. I'm so excited to bring this to you all. And we'll get started in just a few minutes. We'll give it another minute for people to hop on. Let me just give a reminder. To the group. Thanks so much for being here. Hi, Amanda. All right, so we're going to get started. Let me see. I've got a slide. Oops, hold on a second. Share screen. Let me see. I'm not that technical. Okay. Okay, here we go. Okay, so let me just, there we go. All right, so hopefully that looks okay for you all on the screen sharing. So, I don't see. Hi, Mandy. Hey, Jocelyn. Katriana. Hello. Do you guys see the presentation? I don't see it on my end. Can you guys see the presentation that I just brought up? No. Okay. How about now? Is it there? Okay. Hold on, you're sharing. All right, let's. Hold on, let me try that again. Okay. Okay. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Share screen. Okay, how about now? Is that sharing? Okay, can you guys see that presentation? All right. Hopefully, I just don't see it on my end. Okay. All right, there we go. Whew. Nearly had a nervous system panic. All right. Okay, well, we'll just go for it. I am not that technical. All right, thanks everyone for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to tune into this. So it means the world to me. It really does. So for you all that don't know me, or you do know me, you might be new to the group. You might have been in the group for a while. I started the group, I want to say about a year and a half ago, probably about a year and a half ago. And we have well over 5,000 people in the group. And if y'all don't know, I have a podcast with the same name as well. And that podcast has had something like 55,000 listeners, and it's sad, and it's also it just warms my heart, because wow, I felt so alone my entire life. I didn't know that there was other people going through the same thing, right? So it's this, and part of healing is having that validation and that support. And so I appreciate each and every one of you being in the group. And I like to say it's my favorite group online, and I'm biased, but honestly, I've seen the other groups, and we just don't have a lot of, we do have some issues, but not that much. And everyone is just amazing, truly amazing. We don't have that many issues compared to the other groups that I've seen. So that's just a testament to you all. And, just the wonderful people that are in this group. So thank you. So if you guys don't know me, let me tell you, my name is Tracy Principe. I run the group, I run the podcast. I help people just like you because I have been through it every step of the way. This is my lived experience, and I'm going to share with you how I transformed my life after decades of pain and struggle and everything else. So I never knew I had trauma. Like many people, I didn't even know I had trauma. I grew up in the 70s, so there wasn't Google, there wasn't Dr. Romani or YouTube videos or any podcasts, anything like that. I started off with, I'm a survivor of severe emotional neglect. So I don't have the enmeshed mother or parent. I have the ignoring. And I know there's a few of us like that has the ignoring parent. My mom literally never gave a shit about me. And I felt that from a very young age. And I literally, no rules, no boundaries, I could have been gone for a week and she would have never known the difference, right? So that kind of extreme emotional neglect, and she was very cold and distant, is also very, very damaging. So it's more of the invisible abuse. So my story was an eating disorder at 14, drugs in my teens and high school, pregnant at 20, unmarried, of course, started using alcohol because that seemed more acceptable, and I could function, although I still had an eating disorder. I didn't do drugs though. It was alcohol to take the edge off because I was a single mom and I went to work every day, and alcohol seemed to kind of just settle my system at the end of the day. And I always felt, I felt that stress, although I didn't know it was stress or anxiety. It just felt like I was revved up all the time. I could never relax, and I needed that alcohol to relax at the end of the day. And then that, of course, over time became a problem. So I had abusive relationships in my early 20s. My daughter's dad was an alcoholic. I didn't know that until later. He was abusive when he was drunk. Didn't know that. You know, and then I got involved with other alcoholics and drug addicts in my 20s. Then I still perpetuated that trauma by working all the time, overachieving, perfectionism tendencies, people pleasing, basically seeking love and acknowledgement from any external source, you know, things, possessions, you name it, all of that. The problem with that is that that's not sustainable, and I could never fill that void, and that void got louder and louder, and none of those things ever could squelch it anymore, right? I just couldn't squash it down anymore. So all of that, I never pinpointed that back to my childhood until not in my late 40s, okay? I knew there was something wrong with my mother. It was a feeling, it was a thing that I couldn't quite put my finger on. I definitely made her out to be way better than she was because I actually didn't have any other family. So I was a product of an affair. My mother is about 20 years younger than my dad. And he had an affair. He was married with 5 kids, okay, little children, and had an affair with my mother. She was, you know, very beautiful. And she got pregnant and had me, and my dad died of alcoholism, so obviously he had his own issues. So that, you know, but she never told me that, right? So I know that I had to find that out on my own, which is another trauma. I knew something was wrong, but I knew she was lying. So I had to find out all that on my own. So subsequently finding brothers and sisters and all that, she also gave a child up for adoption. Finding all that family and they want nothing to do with me was a really, really difficult blow that I took, as we often do. We internalize that, right? And as something's wrong with me, it's my fault. Of course, I didn't ask to be, you know, born from an affair. But that was devastating, really devastating. I had many, many devastating experiences in my life that I had no support from, okay? So I'm sure that we can all relate to some of that. All right, so my life now, freedom to be myself. I can't even tell you what that feels like. I don't have words for what that feels like. No more anxiety, looking for love, anger. I had the anger and rage outbursts, right? Had that really bad since I was a teen. And alcohol, I could mostly be a fun person with alcohol, but I could also be an angry person with alcohol. So addiction free. Love myself, and everybody says, oh, just love yourself, but what does that really mean, to love yourself, if you've never experienced that? Again, I don't even have words for what it is. No more people pleasing, because you can get burned out and pretty lonely on people pleasing, right? Overriding my nervous system, overriding not listening to my body, nearly killed me in a multitude of ways, right? Just overdoing everything, never slowing down, caring what others think. I really don't care. Healthy relationships, right? I had very unhealthy relationships. And asking for what I need and want, and really knowing what I need, right? And asking for it and creating my life around that instead of what other people would expect of me or what I think I should be, right? And the best part, my mom doesn't trigger me. Is she annoying? Yes, but she doesn't trigger those wounds that used to send me into the spiral, okay? So in my work, we call it the trauma vortex. So you go down into the trauma vortex, this spiral. That doesn't happen anymore. And what do I get to do? I get to help others with the exact same thing. I have a business that I love and time to travel. I go to a lot of fun, I do a lot of road trips. If you guys follow me on Instagram, or usually most of my Instagram, I post more of my travel. You know, we travel around to fun places. My favorite place is like in this picture with my dog in mountain towns is our favorite place to do, is go visit cute little mountain towns and all around the US and national parks. So stress-free, fun, free, internally, you know, is something that you couldn't pay me enough money to take away, right? So that internal freedom, when I was looking externally, is something that can't be replaced with any amount of money, any, you know, no way. I wouldn't trade that for the world. So, all right, so there's that. Okay, so you're in the right place today. If you're struggling with no contact, low contact, or anywhere in between, or even if you've been no contact for a while, today's presentation is really really covers you know, wherever you're at, right? I'm sure you'll find something out of this that you'll get something out of this presentation. So, but if you are newer to this and you're struggling, you're in the right place if you get sucked back in. You go no contact, and somewhere in there, you know, they send gifts or money, or they text you and you, you know, caught you off guard or whatever, and you get sucked back in. That happens very frequently. I did that for decades, back and forth, and we know what that cycle is like, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more in depth. It happens, and it is the cycle. And if you think about other dysfunctional relationships with a partner, it is very, very similar, and it affects the same part of the brain. So if that happens, it's okay. It's okay. So this is also the right place for you if you're in that codependent trauma bond, enmeshed, you know, trauma bond with your parents, and I see that a lot. It's very common. Again, you got wired for that, which I'm going to talk about, and that's really, 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 really hard to break. Really hard to break. And I don't often see that broken without help, intervention, you know, because it is similar to a drug dependency. It affects the same part of the brain. This is a good place to be if, you know, let's say you're no contact or low contact or whatever, but other areas of your life and relationships are suffering, right? So we can go no contact, and I always say that's the first step, but really, you know, this affects all areas of our lives because our parents were our first point of contact for everything in our life, relationships and how we function in the world, right? So oftentimes, you know, you can still have a lot of issues with relationships and just that sense of, you know, that void, right? Distressing thoughts, ruminating thoughts, nightmares, those kinds of things. If that's still happening, whether you're no contact or not, or low contact, internal conflicts and struggles, the guilt and shame of that, we know what that's like, and that is just miserable. This consumes you, right? Just being consumed with all of this. And you just can't be free no matter what you do. Maybe you've tried a lot of different things, and maybe you're in therapy or have been in therapy in the past, and it still just doesn't seem like you've made a lot of progress. Then you are in the right place, and you will get something out of this. All right, so why no contact? Why the heck would you want to go no contact with your parents, right? So I'm assuming that you're here because you have a damn good reason for wanting to be no contact. And I know for a fact that you have tried everything. Boy, do I know that. I know what that's like. You have tried everything. And this is not just some, you know, fly by the seat of your pants or some whim, whatever. You know, I know that you have more than tried, and you've bent over backwards and you know, to be the bigger person and all of those things. I know that because that was me as well. So why no contact? First of all, there's no cure for narcissistic personality disorder or any other personality disorder that your parent might have. And I can guarantee they probably have a lot more than one thing going on, right? They have a lot of personality disorders, and maybe whatever they have, diagnosed or undiagnosed, it doesn't really matter what you want to call it. There's something going on that they are not aware of, and that they refuse to acknowledge. because they're not aware of it, right? So narcissists or any other personality disorder, they're not born, they're created by their own traumatic childhoods. And I can guarantee, whether your parents want to admit it or not admit it or talk about it or not, they have come from trauma. They've come from trauma. However, again, that is not your issue. It's not yours to fix because it's bigger than you. And it's you know, we don't want to go down that hole of feeling sorry for them and making excuses for them. Same thing with an addict or an alcoholic, because then you're creating enabling, right? You feel sorry for them because they're an addict, or you feel sorry because they had their own trauma. But that doesn't mean that you know, we need to make excuses for them. There's a difference between codependent, feeling sorry for people and trying to fix them and help them, and I have compassion for you, but I'm over here, you know, right? Like, I have compassion for the homeless street, right? But I'm not trying to fix it or do anything. Maybe so you know what I mean? So there's like a difference of, oh, I'm going to feel sorry and I'm going to enable that behavior. Your toxic parents are abusive no matter what they have. So abuse is abuse. No matter if they had trauma, it doesn't give them an excuse to be abusive, and they might even use that and, you know, as playing the victim, right? It doesn't give them a free pass, right? So just understanding that. Behaviors, traits, manipulation, their anger, addictions, mental illness, and whatever else it is, all of those things combined. So it's not just one thing, it's all of that. That those behaviors and traits were born out of trauma, and they got passed down, intergenerational trauma, and that's, you know, and that's not yours to, that's too big. Didn't start with you, started way on down the line, and that's too big to fix. And they're adults, right? There's options. We have options now. There's things we can do to work on ourselves. So what's happening with their behaviors and all of those things that I just mentioned is that that's how they protect themselves. And it's very, very, very strong in their system, right? So their nervous system is protecting. That's their fight, flight, fear, fight, flight, freeze, fawn, right? And noticing what, so if you notice what they're doing, right? So if you are observing their behavior, you can notice when they're fighting, flighting, fleeing, shutting down, fawning, people pleasing, if they do that. You know, all of those trauma responses in them that are going on, their self-protection, and it's very, very strong. It's turned on very strong, and that is how they're trying to operate in the world. But again, we want to see this as the big picture, and not, you know, it's not, again, we don't want to fall in that codependent trap of, oh, I need to fix them or feel sorry for them or give them a break because they had an abusive childhood, right? So there's a very fine line there that we don't want to fall into. Okay, so trauma disconnects us from our bodies, and because our body wasn't a safe place to be, right? So they're just acting out their trauma, and they have passed that on to you, and your body and your nervous system has been wired around that, and that's why you have this fight, flight, and your trauma responses, whatever that is, whatever that looks like for you, right? So really important to understand that. The anxiety, the panic, the people pleasing, however, the behaviors and the traits that show up in you. And this is when people say, oh, I think I'm like my parent. Well, in a way, that could be true because you're going to have your own survival responses. But it's not that you're a narcissist, or, you know, it's your nervous system and survival responses responding. Okay, so really important to understand. So the point is that they harmed you, and they're still harming you, and they're not taking responsibility. That's why no contact gives you a chance to focus on yourself. While you are focusing on your parents, you cannot focus on yourself, and you can't heal. right? If you live with your parents, I'm so sorry. It is extremely nearly impossible because your nervous system is hijacked and it won't be able to even settle until you are out of that situation. Likewise, if you're in an abusive relationship, it's nearly impossible to heal until you remove yourself from that situation. It's the same thing with your parents. The same exact thing. So I always tell people it's pretty much impossible. The only thing that you can maybe do is do the gray rocking if you're living with them and do whatever it takes to get out. I have had clients that have decided that being homeless was better than living with their parents. And you know what? They were homeless, living in their cars, and they somehow managed to get help and get therapy and get treatment, and they were able to do better than living at home. But I know that's not an option for everyone. So okay, why is this so hard? Because you got wired for instability and a lack of safety. You got wired for that I'm unlovable, I'm not good enough, I'm unworthy, right? You got wired, and not just one time, you got wired over and over and over and over throughout your entire childhood, and then that was reinforced in adulthood. And that's what sets us up for relationships that don't meet our needs as well, right? So maybe even if they're not outright abusive, we might get into relationships with unavailable partners. They might not be emotionally available. And so when we could feel gaslit, they might be emotionally abusive, right? So I see that a lot as well. So we got wired to manage their issues while ignoring our own because we couldn't have needs, no wants, right? That wasn't allowed. So we got wired for those unsafe experiences so that those things are familiar because so those things that are familiar, like unhealthy relationships, that's familiar rather than the unfamiliar of a healthy relationship, right? So what is unsafe is familiar, okay? So what doesn't feel safe is a healthy person. You're like, whoa, wait a minute, why are you so nice, right? Have you ever done that with somebody? Wait a minute, why are you so nice? What do you want from me? Because your nervous system doesn't recognize that. Your nervous system does not recognize that, right? It got wired backwards. You also got wired for compliance, obedience, and caretaking. So, that's, well, I'll just be the good little person. And that sets you up for a lifetime of people pleasing because you want to be liked. You want to be, I'm okay if I'm doing this. I won't avoiding conflict. That's a big one. If you had to caretake others, your parents, it wired you for just ignoring yourself, right? No needs, no wants. I can't have needs and I can't have wants, and I go into adulthood and I can't have needs and I can't have wants, and actually and then you don't even know what you need or what you want because you never had that before. Nobody asked you, hey, what do you need right now? What are you feeling, right? Nobody asked you that. Okay. Next slide. So here's kind of the cycle that is really, 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 really hard to get out of. So with your parents, and again, this can be anywhere in your life. This what was mirrored with our parents gets kind of mirrored in work. I see this, people will have toxic work environments, toxic intimate partnerships, and even toxic friendships, right? So it shows up universally in every nook and cranny of your life, and that was true for me. There's a tension buildup, right? So, and this is like a drug. It's the same. It affects the same part of your brain. So there's that tension buildup, and then you want to reach out, or maybe they reach out to you, and there's a tension buildup, and then there's that blow up, okay? And then there's a, like whatever that was, the blow up. And then you go no contact, let's say, and then there's a reconciliation, and then there's a honeymoon phase in that reconciliation. So, and then the reconciliation that's where they can do the love bombing, right? So they might do the love bombing. They might, they might send gifts or money. That's very enticing. And especially if you grew up like that, you think that that's okay. You think that that's the way people apologize or something, right? And then and when I was in an abusive relationship, that reconciliation was flowers, gifts, and that can feel really good. It can feel like love, right? And then that honeymoon phase where things are better, but then they always fall apart, and then you're back to that. So what that wires you for that, risk, reward, punishment. Okay, you get wired for that. And it's really, really difficult to unwire that without help. You definitely need help for that. And again, it's no different than being in an abusive, if you've ever been in an abusive partnership. I certainly have, and it was that same thing. But again, I never put two and two together because my mom wasn't, she didn't really do that, although she did in weird ways, but not so much. But it definitely wired me for that cycle. And you know how hard that is to get off of, because this took me decades, late 40s, right? It's extremely hard to get off of that merry-go-round cycle, right? Okay, so, and you know what that feels like. It's impossible to do by yourself. It really is. Okay, so the reasons why you feel stuck and it just feels like, this is just, never going to end. Things aren't in my life is just not where I want it to be. I'm just in this, this cycle, right? And nothing seems to get better, or maybe it seems to get better for a short period of time, and then things just go downhill, or maybe you self-sabotage, or you just feel, a lot of people will say they feel kind of like doomsday-ish of if things are going good, when is the next shoe going to drop? And I used to feel that too. So if things are going good, like, ooh, I'm on hyper alert as to when something isn't, when something's going to happen, right? And have you ever felt like that? So trauma is stored in the body. If that's news to you, what I recommend, The Body Keeps the Score, is a book that will open your eyes to some things, and I highly recommend reading it in very small doses, because it can be very, very, very extremely triggering, because it is, when I read it, I was like, what the F? Why didn't anybody tell me this? That was my experience reading it. I was pissed, sad, all kinds of stuff. But trauma is stored in the body. A lot of therapists don't know this, or they don't have the training. They are getting, we are moving in that direction. And the nervous system is our survival response that's been with us since we walked on this earth. It's that fight, flight, freeze response. Fawn is people-pleasing response, right? It's the fourth F. So all mammals have a nervous system that has been with us. It's our lizard brain. It's our amygdala, the fight, flight, freeze. The fawn animals, I don't think they really have that. But so animals have that system because they're out there fighting against predators. They need to get away. So if you've ever seen a cat catch a mouse, and the little mouse is, the cat's like batting around the mouse, and you think, oh no, the cat just killed that poor little mouse. And then the cat gets up and leaves. Oh no, the little mouse. And all of a sudden, a little while later, the mouse seemingly comes back to life and runs away. And you're like, oh wow, I thought that mouse was dead. That is the freeze response of the survival system of the mouse. The freeze shutdown. So it shuts itself down and plays dead. But then the difference is that animals, they can shake it off, and the mouse gets up and runs away, and it's no longer traumatized by the cat. because we have a higher brain, a limbic system, and a prefrontal cortex, we can't do that. And we live in a modern society when we don't have an animal after us. We have, intergenerational trauma. So everybody in the world has trauma, and everybody's trauma is playing out in the world. And so if we think of it through that lens, we can see exactly what's happening, right? Just with people and work and everybody at work, everybody everywhere. And their traumas are running them. It is not necessarily a part of their personality. It's a trauma response. So the body and the nervous system is not a cognitive process, and that's why that talk therapy doesn't get to the part of the body that stores trauma. So it will not reach the part of the brain and the nervous system where the trauma is stored. That's why most of my clients, I would say all of my clients, have been in talk therapy for probably, off and on for decades, and that's why you might still have anxiety and these other symptoms, because that talk therapy, and not to bash talk therapy, it is certainly better than nothing, and it can be helpful, but it is not getting to the nervous system. So the only way for deep lasting healing is to include your survival responses, your nervous system, and your body. If you're not doing that, my clients get more with me than they have in thousands and thousands of dollars of talk therapy over decades, right? They have more transformation working with me in a much shorter period of time, doing the work that I do, than decades of talk therapy where they're still left with depression and anxiety, and they're most likely on medications. And again, nothing wrong with that. Just something to think about, because this was me too. So again, the other part of that is that I have lived this experience of, having this narcissistic, unavailable, covert narcissistic mother. And I really understand this on a deep level because I've lived it. And I've worked with hundreds of people that all have the same story, and it never changes. The parents never change. I've only seen that maybe once, but it doesn't change. And so a lot of coaches, therapists, counselors, whoever, you're working with, they don't focus on that family of origin as the root cause of your pain, and how that shapes you for everything in your life. And why they don't do that, I would venture to say because most people haven't dealt with that, their own traumas, right? They haven't dealt with that, their own traumas themselves. So they have this bias, and that's why a lot of you have, and I've heard this many times, is that, my therapist said I should forgive and work it out or whatever. And that's really not, what they should be saying. So things, statements like that. That tells me when somebody says something like that they don't have an understanding. They have their own biases, and they have an uncomfortable part of them that can't, honor this process. And again, like I said, I have never ever seen anybody that stays in a relationship with their parents, because we have that, what we're doing is we're trying so hard in that relationship, right? And we can't heal like that. So that's why if you want to heal, that's recommend no contact. Now, how I do it is, can you go no contact for a while you heal? And then when you start this work, you don't trust me. You're not going to go back in the same way. If you do go back, you'll do what I did. My mom doesn't trigger me, so she could do whatever she wants to do. Now, my mom's she's not abusive. If she started to be, I would walk away immediately. So, if I needed to go to coffee with my mom or check on her or whatever, that's totally fine. She's not an abusive person. So, for some people, that's just not possible. But that is really, really important when you think about, what's happening for you. So most of my clients come to me in an extreme, they have CPTSD, CPTSD, severe nervous system dysregulation is what it is. They are pretty in a bad place. So for example, and most of them are really, really enmeshed in that toxic enmeshment is so damaging to their body that they're just, the panic attacks are nonstop, the hypervigilance. It's like their body is on steroid hypervigilant overdrive, and it's completely ruining their lives. So one of my clients, she went from that complete codependent enmeshment with her mother, where it consumed every part of her life. She was able to set really firm boundaries and stick to them, set them and stick to them, no more falling back into those old patterns. And that actually changed the dynamic with her mother. Her mother didn't change. Kate just changed, right? Because she did something different and her mom had to comply with that. Now, that's not all parents, but there's a lot of different things we can do. And then Kate felt okay safe enough to do that, because we find safety in the body. And when we find safety in our nervous systems and our body, we feel safe enough to do these things that were very, very scary before, right? So that dynamic change, she freed up more time to focus on herself and her own family. She was able to pull out of a deep depression and enroll in school again, which she had put off for 2 years, and ask for support from her partner to be able to do all those things. And that's just one example of hundreds of people I worked with that have, and if you go into the group and you look under guides, there's a couple of my clients that I did videos with, and they share their stories. It's very dynamic. So if you go in the groups under guides, there's a bunch of stuff under there, including those past videos I did with clients. If you haven't seen that, I would definitely check it out. All right. So how would it feel in your body to experience life instead of living in survival mode? How would that feel? And then some of you might be like, I don't even know. I have no idea, right? And that's valid, right? Because we can't even imagine not living in survival mode, because we got stuck in there since we were a kid. To fully trust yourself, right? Most trauma survivors don't trust yourself. How could you? Because you had this walking on eggshells instability, and somebody was gaslighting you and telling you that your experience wasn't real, or that you are making stuff up or whatever, and then you begin to doubt yourself and question yourself. So how could you trust yourself, right? And then you feel, you internalized all that. How would it feel to set boundaries free of guilt and shame? Imagine that. How good would it feel to set boundaries free of guilt and shame and obligation and all that stuff, right? How would it feel to not be triggered by your parents? Whew, that's the ultimate freedom that I'm talking about, that cannot be taken away. You couldn't give me enough money to take that feeling away. Yeah, it's too good. And then just to feel a deeper connection with yourself, right? So it's so difficult to even connect with ourselves, because we spend a lot of time focusing on other people, and feel a deeper connection with your partner. Or if you don't have a partner, you deserve that partnership. And some of us avoided partnering up because it just doesn't feel like, it's too safe to even be vulnerable. Because I used to be that person too, but a lot of times it's because we had those bad experiences. And then just to feel seen, heard, and validated. Many of my clients tell me that I'm the first one that they ever, somebody validated them. And that right there alone can be very, very, very healing. Very healing. All right, so I'm going to take questions in just a few minutes. So I've got something really exciting. This has been a year in the making, an actual course for navigating no contact. And And I've been working on this for so long because it was not easy to come up with a course that I could bring to a wider, bigger audience, and how I was going to structure it, because my one-on-one, I can only do so much, and that's mostly full most of the time. So my one-on-one work is full, pretty full most of the time. And I can't take more one-on-one because I'm only one person. So how can I bring this work to a wider audience? Because I know how badly it's needed, and I know how many of you are suffering. So I've come up with a course that I'm going to run for the very first time at a very special beta price, because I'm going to run it for the very first time, and then I'm going to get your guys' feedback so that I can make it better. And then I might run it once or twice live, but after that, I'm not going to run it live. I'm going to have it as an online course that you would do, you know, on your own. So, but this one I'm running live, so you'll have tons of support from me. You're going to learn how to self-regulate and rewire your nervous system. That's step one I do with everybody. You're going to understand on a deep level how this intergenerational trauma happened way before you ever came along, and why that's so important. That has nothing to do with you. If you've already been in talk therapy, or you are in talk therapy, this will quantum leap you forward in your healing process like nothing else out there. And you can ask any of my clients what they've experienced in just a short time working with me. Learning to live in your body and feel your feelings and your emotions and feel what's happening in your body, that's freedom. That's the internal freedom that you can't get from any money, job, other person, you know, parents. You can't, what we're looking for from our parents that we'll never ever get, that we know that on a deep level. Cognitively, we can know these things, right? And I hear you guys talk about that. Cognitively, you could know these things, but there is that body piece that's missing that actually, you know, creates that lasting healing where you don't have to, you know, you're going to feel it. So the missing part is the feeling. I'm going to feel it. And learning to face your fears instead of avoiding it with, you know, coping mechanisms, which again is nothing to be ashamed of. It's you know, it's trauma, right? So coping mechanisms are there for survival. They're not bad. They're just not healthy. And so healthier coping mechanisms. Okay. So so this is some of what others are saying. You know, we rebalance the nervous system, we feel more present, less negative thinking. So we come out of your head and into your body. But right now your body isn't a safe place. So we do it in a way so we can find safety in the body. And if you stay till the end, we'll just do a quick little exercise. Okay. So, and really what people, you know, saying what they mean, saying what they feel without you know, just there's something when you are so solid and trust in your body, you're not doing it rude or mean or anything. You're just being vulnerable and honest and authentic, true authenticity, right? Most people, and confident to get what you want, and not in a mean way, but in a way that, because I matter, I'm valuable, and I deserve, you know, to be seen and heard and take up space in the world, right? So huge for most people. Okay, so there's 200 people registered for this webinar, or almost 200 people. So this program, which I'm going to put in the group after this webinar, and I have 10 spots for calls next week that I opened up to see if this program is a right fit for you. And when I'm going to post it, it's a 10-week program, because it's 10 weeks to regulate your nervous system and go through everything that we're going to go through in the program and get through it in 10 weeks. And we're going to start, probably start at the end of the month, I think, or October 1st. So, all right, let me unshare my screen. There we go. So this program is 10 weeks, weekly Zoom calls. It's going to have a private Facebook group, not the big one, but if you join the program, it's going to have its own Facebook group, right? So it's going to have its own Facebook group. So the program is going to be an introductory price of $549, and you can $549. You can split that in half. And we're going to get started. I'd say October 1st is when I want to start this program. And I'm going to show you I'm going to post the link so you can read about it and see the different modules and what we're going to work on. But there is nothing like this. There is nothing like this out there, and there's no therapist that will have come up with this program. This is my first time running it. I want your guys' feedback. I won't run it live very often, maybe twice. It won't be at this price. I would raise the price because I would send it out to actual therapists that could use it in their practice and other people. So this is going to be my program that's going to help a lot of people. And this is my first pass of it. And so I'm offering it at a beta price that you will not get as far along in any therapy that you're doing like you will in this program, because this is the missing pieces that need to happen and what's missing from most therapy, from most coaching. If you have like even a coach or any counseling or whatever it is that you're doing, or some other online narcissistic abuse program. So this, like I said, this is going to be phenomenal. 10 weeks at this price is going to get you decades of therapy in this 10 weeks. Okay? Yeah. So I would love to have you join. And the best part is once you're in for life. So you are in for life. You get another Facebook group. The group is getting big. So if you want a more intimate group, it'll be just the people that are in the program, a separate group. And that way we can really work together, and I'll be spending time in there. And once you are in this program, you're in it for life. So any future iterations of it or price increases or whatever, that you're like grandmothered or grandfathered into it. So you can, you could just be a part of it forever. Okay. You will be a part of that forever. So if anyone is interested in that, I'll send that out, and you can always message me too. We can hop on a call to see if that's a good fit for you. If you don't like group settings and that's scary, you could either say, hey, I want to get over my fear of group settings, or you could say, no, I know that's probably not, and that's totally okay. Right? So group settings are not for everybody. And if you feel like that's, not right for you, that's totally okay. Or if you feel like, hey, you know what, I think I want to get over my fear of group settings, you can totally, that's the only thing, it will be a group Zoom chats, right? Yeah, so I would, CBT is okay. I mean, there's certainly nothing wrong with that. But if you feel, here's the thing. Yeah, I'm going to email it. I'm going to, I know, Facebook, you don't see the notifications. I'm going to email it. So if you're on my email list, you'll get it. I will post it in the group as well, but also message me. And here, hold on a second. I think I can do it here. Maybe not. Oh yeah, here. I think I put the thing in here. Edit. Maybe not. Well, let's try it. Okay. Now let's go back over here. Okay. I can put it here. Okay, so I just put the link in there. Hopefully that works. If not, let me know. Yeah, $5.49 is the price. All right. So how long was I no contact with my mom? Yeah, I'm pretty much no contact, and I have been no contact for about 5 years now. And I was no contact before, but I did a lot of back and forth stuff. I did that for decades. But there was long period, long stretches in there was no contact. And then, it was just that thing where one day I was like, I was done. So for me, it was like, I'm done, right? It was, I'm done. And now I can, my husband will email her. That doesn't bother me. I have no activation around that. She'll email me sometimes. I have no activation. So if I needed to check on her, I would, because there's no activation there. There's no activation, right? So it doesn't mean we have a relationship. We absolutely don't have a relationship, and I have no desire for that. So when you do this healing process, and if you did go back to your parents, it's a completely different experience, because you realize you see them for who they are, and so there's not that yearning or longing, or that still, that before it was like that, trying to get acknowledgement, love, all of those things, right? None of that. So talk therapy is okay, and that can be helpful where you are right now. But I'd ask you this: if you are having those nervous system symptoms, do you have symptoms of CPTSD, anxiety, depression, the panic attacks, nightmares, all of those things? Maybe you're even on medication and going to talk therapy. If you're doing this all nervous system dysregulation, and actually most of my clients that get regulated, they don't need medication anymore. And it's unfortunate that, again, psychiatrists and a lot of people aren't understanding this trauma. You're traumatized. You are traumatized. So if you're going to talk therapy and you still have anxiety, depression, you're on medication for those, or maybe you're not, you're just suffering through it, you have fibromyalgia, you have IBS, autoimmune, chronic fatigue, chronic pain, you have these hypervigilance, all of those things. If you still have all that, that is your nervous system. Okay, that is your nervous system, and you can't fix that with talk therapy. Okay, does that make sense? So somatic experiencing, that's what I do. I'm so glad that you are inspired by this. Yeah, somatic experiencing, that's what I do. And that's what I'm going to teach you in the program. Nervous system regulation, that's what I do. I'm going to teach you that in the program. I also do internal family systems, which is parts work. I do it somatically. Normally, it's not that somatic. So really, nervous system regulation and somatic experiencing is the only thing that's going to regulate your nervous system. So there's not that, there's EMDR can be helpful, but a lot of times EMDR, people still need the somatic work, where EMDR is too heavy, right? Books, The Body Keeps the Score, Waking the Tiger. It Didn't Start With You. There's a couple religious connotations in there about forgiveness I don't like. Yeah, doctors never have the answer about Graves' disease, Hashimoto's, chronic fatigue, IBS. This all clears up when you do this work. A lot of that will clear up or greatly reduce. So you don't have lupus. A lot of my clients have lupus. So books are good to start reading. However, again, it's the cognitive stuff isn't getting to the body stuff. So if you feel like you're ready to go into the body and feel your feelings, because that's where the trauma is stored, you didn't process these feelings and emotions, it's a little scary, and some people are scared, and that's totally understandable. Yeah, this absolutely helps with sexual trauma, because if you had any kind of sexual trauma, and if it was pre-verbal, or even if it wasn't pre-verbal, you left your body. You definitely left your body. And most sexual abuse survivors will say, yes, I was out of my body or looking down on myself. And so sexual abuse survivors have extreme dissociation, totally understandable. So the only way to not dissociate is to come back into your body. And I have tools to help with dissociation that are really, really powerful. People get back in their body. Yeah, Nicola Parrish, she's good. Yeah. So you could read. However, this is not, trauma healing has to be done with another person because a big part of the healing is being witnessed and co-regulation with another person, right? So, and the nervous system regulation happens in healing with somebody that has a regulated nervous system. And guess what? I have a regulated nervous system. It's very regulated. Even a lot of therapists don't have a regulated nervous system, and you might be able to feel that. And your parents definitely are very extremely dysregulated. So they can't help you. That was the whole point, is that when you were a baby, your parents were supposed to regulate your nervous system because babies cannot regulate. They need a parent, except your parents were not available for that, right? So we have to go back and regulate. Your nervous system wants to regulate, though, and it will respond. Okay, once we show it safety, it has to be shown safety. We can't tell it. So most people will say, I feel safe. If you say that to yourself, it's not true. Yoga's good. Yeah, that's good. That can be a good start for sure. Yes, let me get a link to set up a call with me. I'll post this in the group too. So again, I really took so much time and thought into putting this, and I'll be honest, I'm a slightly perfectionist and procrastination combined. I still have that a little bit, not nearly as severe as I used to. Yeah, I really took, but mostly I took a lot of time and care in my thought process in putting this program together, and then working with one-on-one, and then watching you guys on what do you guys really, really need. And so when you read the program copy, I think you will find, that it's good for wherever you're at, because we're going to do letter writing. We're going to do a lot of different things. And it's good for wherever you're at. So there's going to be different levels. So for example, one of the weeks is going to be letter writing, and I'm going to help you guys with that. And you're going to get a ton of support from me and help. And it could be different stages of letter writing. You can go back and write a letter, even if you've been no contact, because a lot of times we just haven't really said what we have meant to say, because we just kind of shove it away. And, so that's one example of writing different letters, no matter what stage you're at. And I'm going to help you with templates and different things and go over it with you. Boundary setting is 1 week that we're going to do, and I'm going to help you with that, right? I'm going to help you, walk you through setting boundaries, sticking to boundaries, keeping boundaries. And you're going to have that support system that really is a lot of what this is about, is having support. Because not only do we experience trauma, we didn't have, trauma is very complex and very layered, right? So we experienced trauma, but then we didn't have a support person, most likely, because you can experience trauma, but then you have a support person to come and say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. Do you want to talk about it, or, or whatever, or if you're a baby, or, you get picked up, you get cared for, all of those things as secondary trauma. So not only did we experience trauma, we experienced a secondary trauma, which sometimes people will tell me that it was worse than the original incident, right? Does that make sense? Yeah. All right, so there's the link to schedule with me a call. There's a link for the program. And then it's going to be weekly calls. I want to start October 1st if I get enough people to sign up. And then I would do it in the afternoons. I'm Pacific time, I'm in California, so I want the live calls maybe in the afternoon sometime, like around this time, 2:30, 3:30 for me. So if you're on the East Coast, it would be, after work. I could even maybe do it on a Saturday if that, I would try to do my best to get everybody, live on it, right? Payment plan. Yes, I do offer payment plans. On the thing, it's split in half. So I do full payment and a split payment if you can do that. If you can't do that, if you need, I could set up a different payment plan. If you need that, just message me, okay? And we can work that out as well. So each module will have a call on a different subject, and then there's going to always be a work homework. There'll be homework each week too to work through. And then the separate Facebook group, will be everyone that is in the program helping, and so it'll be just like what are you getting stuck on, what do you need help with, and then I'll come in, probably do some Q&A. So it will be very, very high touch, a very high touch program. Okay. Yeah, meditation and yoga can definitely be helpful. Psilocybin, I'm hearing good things about it. But I do have a lot of clients that have come to me with, again, the nervous system dysregulation. The nervous system can respond badly to things like, I have people that do these ayahuasca retreats that are really popular, and their nervous system blows up and their trauma blows up. I have clients that have been supervised by psychiatrists with ketamine and psilocybin microdosing, and some of the other ones right now. And it has also blown up their nervous system, and that is not a good thing. Acupuncture is great. Yeah, I love acupuncture. It's very helpful. I have something even better. It's called Rolfing. It gets to the trauma that's stored in your muscles, because trauma is stored in your muscles, your tissue, your fascia. So Rolfing is a very intense massage, but it's manipulating the fascia. And that got rid of all my chronic pain. So, and I recommend that for people with chronic pain. It's called Rolfing. Yeah, that's exactly what can happen. And I've also heard that some people will start off with a ayahuasca or whatever, psilocybin or whatever you're doing. Am I saying that right? Psilocybin. And they said, yeah, I had a good experience or an okay experience, but then I did it again. I didn't have a good experience, right? So, and their nervous system blew up. It was too much, too fast, and then that really explodes the trauma. So with the somatic work, it's very, we do it in small doses. We definitely microdose. Well, feeling your feelings in your body, because if you go too fast, it's too much. And then we get the flood, right? We get the emotional flooding, and then your nervous system slams on the brakes and you go into dissociation or shut down, because that's your protection. That's your body's trying to keep you safe. So that's why I love somatic work. It's very gentle. Things, we make it more manageable. Feeling your emotions is hard. And it's not comfortable, but it could be manageable. It doesn't have to be like an emotional flood or going into the trauma vortex. People will often say, I don't want to, I just don't want to feel like if I feel my feelings or if I slow down, I'm not going to be able to get up again. And that was true for me. So we do it in a way that feels a little bit more manageable. Is it totally pleasant? Not really. Yeah, you tried Rolfing and it didn't work. Yeah, and that's, there's a lot of things out there. It is really it's really, it's this thing that keep trying, right? Because I tried a gazillion different things that didn't work, but wow, when I find something that works, I'm sticking with it. So I always, it is different things work for different people. Okay, here's the link for the program that I put right there. So, and then here is the link to set up a call with me if you want to talk about it there. So those two links right there, and I'm going to post it in the group as well. So that's why I love somatic experiencing so much. Yes, you can absolutely develop ADHD as a result. And Adderall is not a good treatment. It's highly addictive. From my clients who are addicted to Adderall and had to get off of it. Be very careful with that. But ADHD, in my experience, again, a lot of that, most of my clients they've been diagnosed with ADHD, and most of that goes away with the nervous system regulation. It's dysregulation, it's trauma. Now you can still have ADHD, but a lot of it goes away with the nervous system work. And again, I have CPTSD and medical PTSD. Most of it goes away with the nervous system work. It greatly reduces. And now I don't, stress activates it, right? So I can't always stay away from stress, but I try really hard to live a stress-free life. And that means honoring my body and my nervous system, right? Anger, yeah. Anger, yep, anger, that's the nervous system. So usually what happens is anger, and we got to process the anger. Of course you're angry. Yep, things happen to you. Somebody did something against you, right? So the anger is normal. The problem is that society says we can't be angry, we got to shove it down, and we just, that's the most harmful thing that I see in the body. So we work with anger and rage, and I have the program is going to help us do that, and we do it in really cool ways that are non-harmful, So there's a lot of ways to work with anger, and we do that in the program because I do what I do with my one-on-one clients is so transformational and powerful. I have put into a program, and of everything I do that works really well. It's taken me a long time to put this together. I put it together in a program, and like I said, there's nothing out there like it. Yeah, okay, genetic ADHD. Yeah, that could be possible. It doesn't hurt to try the nervous system regulation. It certainly couldn't hurt, right? Because again, ADHD is it could be also trauma passed down generational. But we couldn't hurt to try. Yeah, I don't know of anything, if it feels good, it's probably not real healing. Yeah, let me get my Instagram. If it feels good, I don't know. I spent a lot of time in trying to feel good with alcohol and drugs and over-exercising, trying to get that high. The problem is that it wasn't sustainable, and it had consequences, right? So, and I spent a lot of time with like doing spiritual practices, and nothing did it. Yes, thank you. Nothing did it like this has done it. That deep healing that was always missing from everything else, talk therapy. Yeah. Having children can activate your own trauma. So having children can definitely activate your trauma, and your feelings are valid. It's easy to doubt ourselves because we don't trust ourselves. We don't have an internal compass because we didn't get that. And then if you have your parents who are like, oh, well, nothing's wrong with you, you're fine, or you're crazy, then that intensifies it. So of course, you don't trust yourself. Yeah. So, yeah, you can sign with, if you want to sign up for the course without doing a call, absolutely. If anybody, yeah, for sure. You don't need to do a call. If you're like a hell yes, I want to do it, absolutely. The call is just if you want to connect with me, if you have any questions, if you're a little unsure, which is totally okay to be unsure. I get it. Some people are a little scared or hesitant. That's totally normal. I always do calls with people first if they're not sure, because maybe, maybe I don't feel like a good fit for you, or I, seem like somebody that you wouldn't feel safe with. And that's totally okay. So, yeah. So, but if you're like, hell yes, I want to do this, absolutely, you can go ahead and sign up. But if you want to do a call with me just for a little, any questions, I'm always open and more than happy to connect with you and hopefully make you feel a little bit at ease. That's what I'm here to do. That is, yay, awesome. I love it. Hell yes. Yeah. That's so great. That is so, I'm so excited about this. I'm so excited. And you guys are gonna, and you guys are gonna give me feedback, honest feedback, so I can make it even better. And like I said, the group has more than 5,000 people in there, which is fantastic and sad that we all have to be here. But if you guys want a smaller, more intimate experience, then you're going to migrate into this other group that will just be us that are in the course, and that's going to give you also, better access to me, because I can't always be in the big group. It's too much. It's too much, right? I don't have the capacity for that. And then also, a lot of my clients that work with me long term, they are not in the group anymore. They leave the group. They leave the group because they don't need it, right? They don't need it anymore. So thanks, Christy. Awesome. That's so great. All right. So yeah, so most of my clients leave the group. My long-term clients, they leave. They're not in there. And they were in there, and they started off like you guys with, oh my gosh, I'm struggling, blah, blah, blah. And they're not in that group because they just have, they don't have those issues anymore. What else do you need from me? My website. So you guys see the link. And this program, it is recorded. It's all recorded. So if for some reason you can't be on all the lives, or there's, one that you miss or whatever, because you got kids, or you got something came up, it's all recorded. You can watch it, later. And then you can come back to the group and say, hey, whatever. So there'll be that support. If you miss one and you got to watch the recording, you could still come, you'll come back to the group and ask questions, or that support is there, right? Yeah, so I don't think having children activated my trauma, as I feel like perimenopause activated my trauma. But it's that same change of hormones, right? So yeah, perimenopause activated my trauma, late 40s ish. Yeah. Anyone else? So, but I feel like that change of hormones definitely can do it. Yeah. What's BHRT? I don't know what that is. I do everything naturally, pretty much. So my body doesn't like, medication, stuff like that. Any other questions? Did I miss something? Let me see. I'm just cruising this chat box for a second. Meditation, yoga can help. It can also be activating. A lot of people can't sit in meditation, and a lot of meditation teachers teach, oh, you got to sit still. But that's not good if you're that activated type. That's going to be really hard to do. And so yeah, we don't do a lot of that. And if you've done one of my drop-in classes, you've had a few experiences of what the somatic work is like, and just noticing, what's happening in your body. So yeah, let's see. Anybody? Did I miss any other questions? Yeah. Anything else that I missed? Because yes, oh, it's already the 21st of September, so I'm hoping to do a drop-in. I'll probably have to do the drop-in class like next week. Yeah, since we're at the end of September, I didn't do a drop-in class yet this month because I got busy. Do you guys have any other questions? I'll wrap this up. Did I miss any other questions? I'll just go back here. Oops. Hold on. All right. Okay, let's wrap it up with a little practice, okay? All right, so let's do a little check-in with your body. And maybe you want to you can leave your eyes open or closed, whatever's more comfortable for you. And if you would like to, I invite you to put your hand on your chest. And just take a nice long exhale. Almost like a sigh, just like, if you were just kind of, if you could do a long exhale where you kind of feel your shoulders drop and your body just kind of like relaxes a little bit. If you can do that. Now, some people can't do that. They're just too wound up, and that's totally okay. But if you can, just a nice sigh, hand on your chest, just, a nice shoulders dropping, relaxing into your body. See if you can relax into the chair or whatever you're sitting on. Just kind of, feel your body, just kind of imagine it melting and softening into the chair or whatever you're sitting on. And as you put your hand on your chest, see if you can feel or notice the connection. Feel that hand on your chest. What does that feel like? Does it feel warm? Do you feel your heart beating? Can you feel your chest rise and fall? Can you feel your feet on the floor? And just notice. Notice what you feel there. Maybe you feel nothing, and that's okay too. If you don't feel anything, some people say they feel numb, and that's totally valid. And then maybe put the opposite hand on your belly, on your lower belly, and see what that connection feels like. So notice your one hand on your chest and one hand on your lower belly. And notice if that feels different. Notice if it feels any different, if it feels the same, you don't notice anything. Just notice what feels different about it. And then see if you can notice the space in between your hand on your chest and your hand on your belly. Notice that space in between there. What does that feel like? Does that feel different? Does it feel the same? Does it feel nothing? And again, bringing your awareness to your breath. And seeing if you can send your breath down into that space. So if you sent your breath all the way down through your hands, all the way down to that hand on your belly. Send your breath down there. Just kind of let your belly relax. Let your legs relax, and your arms, and your shoulders, and your neck. And maybe even relax your jaw a little bit. Let your mouth drop open a little bit if you can. That feels okay. And then just come back now to the room, come back to your space. And maybe you want to share how that felt for you. How did that feel? Did you notice anything? Was it hard to do? Was it, you did notice nothing? You know, any feedback on that? Relaxing, yeah. Oh, good. Relaxed, yeah. Stomach felt like it had a different energy. Yeah, yeah. Good to notice that. Yeah. Okay, good. So everybody felt relaxed with that? Yeah. Amazing, right? So that's your nervous system. That is your nervous system, right? Relaxed but teared up. Yeah. Yeah. So once we slow down, we start to feel, right? And all those emotions that we've been running from, however, whatever coping mechanisms that we have, and that could be just being busy and never slowing down. And yeah, and so when we actually go to just even take a little moment like that, we can feel those emotions right there. Or sometimes we'll feel anxious, we'll feel anxiety, and that's normal too. Or we'll feel nothing. All of it is okay. Right? So whatever you felt in that, it's all okay. Like none of it is wrong. It all is valid and totally makes sense because you make sense. Your nervous system makes so much sense. It tried so hard to protect you. It tried whatever it could to protect you. Right? So when we go to slow down, wow, there, all of it can feel like, wow, yeah, this is relaxing. Yeah, a little tight. Yeah, because your nervous system is like, whoa, what are you doing? What are you doing? That's not safe, right? And okay, right? So we're going to show it. Yeah, it's okay to relax and slow down. Safe to do that. Kind of numb. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So it's a process that takes time. And it's best to do it with, a group because that's the co-regulation that you need that you get from other people who have, the same experiences, right? So we connect, we can connect like we've done based on our same experiences, right? Feeling seen, heard, and validated. Yeah. Okay, wonderful. Okay, good. Yeah, so just, maybe I invite you to do that whenever whenever you're just feeling, well, let me take a moment and just, be with myself. That's that reparenting what we should have gotten that we didn't get, right? And so, um, thanks again, everyone, for joining. I'd love to have you in this program. I would love that. It's going to be freaking amazing. It's going to be so amazing. So I'd love to have you. Sign up if you know it's a hell yes. Book a call with me if you want to chat about it. I'm going to post it. I'm going to email it. This will go out as a recording. If you want to revisit any part of this, feel free to do that. If you want to just message me, feel free to do that as well. My inbox is open, and I don't mind that. All right. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. All right. We'll see you soon. I have to see you in the program. Okay. Bye, everyone.